There's a humanitarian crisis happening in the Mediterranean. Thousands of refugees coming in on broken-down boats across the sea from war-torn Middle Eastern and African countries seeking freedom in Europe. Many do not make it and drown at sea. The Pope calls it Europe's graveyard. Pope Francis was expected to take part in a meeting of bishops and mayors in Florence, Italy this weekend to address the migrant crisis, but canceled on Friday due to health issues with his knee. But the meeting in Florence, which began on Thursday, goes on without the Holy Father. It gathers some 70 bishops and 60 mayors of major cities of the Mediterranean region to explore answers to various challenges of the migrant crisis. They will look at how the church and governments can stop the mounting death toll and provide more help for refugees arriving on ships. EWTN correspondent Colin Flynn spoke to the Archbishop of Florence to get a better understanding of how the church is already helping migrants.
We currently manage about 250 places for refugees and migrants. Some of them are to organize the migrants when they first come off the boats. They are to help and offer a warm welcome. On the other hand, we are there to help them integrate into society. The Pope reminds us how to welcome and that we must integrate.
Bishops in Florence took time on Thursday, actually canceled meetings and headed to Eucharistic adoration to pray for peace after learning about the invasion in Ukraine. To give us greater context to the migrant crisis in the Mediterranean, we're joined by the Vice President of the Middle East Research Institute, Ambassador Alberto Fernandez. Ambassador, thank you so much for being with us. This crisis in the Mediterranean isn't something new. What are the conflicts in the countries bordering the Mare Nostrum that are fueling migration?
Well, I would say thank you. It's a pleasure to be on with you. I would say that the crisis is more than conflict. Obviously, there are conflict zones along the Mediterranean, Syria being a major one, Libya being another one, although you don't have a lot of Libyans going to Europe. You have Africans from sub-Sahara. But I would say the majority of the people fleeing are not fleeing for issues related to persecution or politics or war. They're fleeing for economic reasons. For example, to take one country as an example, you have Spain. The overwhelming majority of the migrants, of the people coming into Spain, are from Algeria, Morocco, and Senegal. There's no war in any of those countries.
So then the Florence Archdiocese, that oversees around 250 reception centers for refugees and displaced persons, focuses not only on supporting immediate arrivals, but also on offering real paths of integration. What are the challenges with this approach, especially because of what you mentioned, that it's not just leaving for war-torn reasons, but economic reasons?
Well, I think, one of the challenges for integration is the nature of the migration flow. The overwhelming majority of the people that are coming are young men between the ages of 18 and 39. They're often young men who are not well educated in their own languages. Some will be illiterate. So you're bringing in migrant workers, people that are going to be at the bottom of the economic food chain, people who are not well educated in their own culture, in their own language, and you're thrusting them into a very different society. So the integration problem is multiplied by all of those factors. Obviously, if you had intact families, a husband and a wife and children, that certainly provides a much stronger basis for integration. If people have the language, if people have, some skills, some education, if they're Catholics, but many factors go into integration, and not just one. So I say the biggest risk or the biggest problem is this young male nature of the migration flows, as opposed to, for example, migration, other crises that we see with migration, say Cuba, Cubans fleeing the island, trying to go into the West, into the United States. You have entire families, you have children, you have husbands and wives. In the Middle East and in North Africa, you basically have this skewed type of, which is remarkable. It's like 70, 80, 90%, that type of population.
Very interesting on stability and also the kind of migration that we're seeing. this is being addressed by a meeting of the minds of church and civil authorities, a remarkable example of the importance of faith leaders in conflict resolution. And we know the role the church will commit to play, which is pastoral care. But what can we expect from the government officials?
You know, the government officials have a challenge that is different than that of the church. I mean, the church has the Gospels, and we're called to be sympathetic and active in our help for the poor and the migrant and the homeless. So that's very clear. But for politicians, governments, they answer to their citizens, and so there's a point of contention there. There's friction there. I mentioned Spain recently. For example, Spain has the highest youth unemployment in Europe, and yet is experiencing migrant flows. And you see that in other countries in Western Europe, Italy and Greece, that have high population, have high unemployment, youth unemployment problems. That's a political issue that needs to be addressed. And it's not easy. And there are all the push-pull factors that bring people to come as migrants or as refugees, which have to do with, the safety of the place that they're going to, the benefits that they might get. That's why you have this bizarre situation, for example, happening in Europe, of people who have fled to Europe, who are already in Europe as refugees or migrants, trying to go from, say, France to the United Kingdom because they somehow feel that that is a better situation for them.
A great political challenge. Well, we'll be following this closely and also praying for the Holy Father to get better. Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Thank you.